Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another video. It's Kyle Got Camera, and we're gonna be talking about barefoot shoes, Vivo Barefoot specifically. Now, you might be asking, what are barefoot shoes? Why do people wear them? And what's the difference between barefoot shoes and normal shoes? I'm gonna explain to you how your normal shoes could be keeping you in pain and could have long-term health consequences. So before we get into that, I want to just tell you a little bit about my story. I want to tell you a little bit about my story and why this is so significant, why I feel so strongly about Vivo Barefoot and barefoot shoes in general.
I'm sweating. Yeah. In 2010, thought I was doing something, and now I'm rapping with a crew or something. I guess the track don't really stick unless he's
Classic.
doing something. And I never fit the shoe until I doing something. Yo, bracing myself like teeth, boy, it's the same old route on some new concrete. But homie, these toes make you get a new ID.
So a long time ago, I got pushed off a swing from my brother, and I fell off the swing and I landed with my ankle just boom right on the ground. Like, imagine landing on the top of your foot. That's what happened. What's the difference between normal shoes and barefoot shoes? Well, barefoot shoes are shoes that are flexed like this. They also might be known as zero drop shoes, minimalist shoes. And the thing about these barefoot shoes is that they are meant to just mimic what it's like to walk with nothing. So here's the opposite of a barefoot shoe, right? It's a shoe that has a sole.
Trying to do my thing, but the commute ain't cheap. I'm on a 2-day week for all this rap these days, and we can still pitch the track to all the whack DJs. We're singing happy days.
So I landed on my ankle like that. What happened is I either strained it or I broke my ankle or I tore something. Long story short is I just never got it fixed. I never got it set. And because of that, I lost range of motion in my ankle, my ability to dorsiflex. Like that. So on normal shoes, you will see that the toe form actually narrows, right? Which ends up squeezing the foot together. And on barefoot shoes, they have a wide toe. So this is a wide toe sole, which actually helps you spread your toes. It actually mimics the shape of your foot. And you tack on the fact that I've been wearing really bad shoes for a long time. Well, I started to lose my ability to create sensation in my feet. My muscles in my feet, they started to atrophy. And I started to not be able to crunch my toes or feel the arch in my foot. And so I started losing sensitivity. I started losing my ability for my foot to do what it's supposed to do. So why is this significant? It's because over time, our feet will start to get squished, right? And what happens is when our feet are cramped into a smaller space than they're supposed to fit into, then we will start turning off those muscles. We will start losing our ability to contract those muscles separately, individual of each other. What also happens with a lot of shoes, not necessarily this one so much, but with other shoes, is they have arch support and they have all this cushion, they have all this padding that is built into the shoe. And what this does is over time, it will weaken the foot's ability to contract the muscles on the bottom of the foot. And what this eventually leads to is the loss of the arch. The muscles in your feet will lose their ability to actually do the job that they're supposed to do. Why is this so significant? This is significant because we take lots of steps every single day. If you think about it, the only thing that really comes into contact with the ground is the foot. If the foot is moving and working suboptimally, because the muscles in the foot are turned off and we've lost sensitivity and we've lost our ability to contract muscles individually and we don't have that mind-muscle connection anymore, then we are going to pattern dysfunction by our movement patterns, right?
Tacky J's, and I'm just pumped that I made it out my nappy phase. Let's go.
So what happened as a result of losing that sensitivity in my feet is my hips started to become unlevel. It's called lateral pelvic tilt, meaning one hip goes higher than the other. And that creates some distortion in your spine. And when your spine starts to go, you start having a lot of issues, right? And so what happened is it messed up my gait, messed up the way that my hips were moving, the way that I was walking. And then it created more challenges upstream, up the kinetic chain. And then I started having all types of issues. And when I made the connection, it was like, boom, I had this breakthrough where I realized that every time I walked, I was feeling worse than before I started. And I wondered why that was. And when I really started to put it together, I realized that there was a connection between my feet, my ankles, the way that my feet were working, and what was going on with my hips, which means what was going on with my spine. So I could go to all the chiropractors, I could go to all the massage therapists, the Rolfers, the people who work on you and help people heal, right? But it wouldn't matter if I never sorted out my feet, if I never actually addressed the root of the issue. And I think a lot of issues can stem from just not having strong feet. Does that make sense? So if we're taking millions and millions and millions of steps, and every time we step, we're stepping with a dysfunctional movement pattern, what happens is that sends a signal up chain for other muscles to counteract that dysfunction, right? Which creates greater dysfunction up the chain. How do barefoot shoes actually work, and what's the purpose of them? Well, the purpose is to restore that function in the foot because there's no arch support, because there is literally nothing there. It's basically essentially you're walking on a bare foot. What ends up happening is it is retraining those muscles in your arch, in the bottom of your feet to start working. And thus activation can occur and proper function of the movement patterns in your feet hopefully could be restored. At first, when you start wearing these types of shoes, you may find that your feet hurt a lot. It's going to change the way you walk, it's going to change the way you run. And so something to be mindful of if you are going to switch to barefoot shoes is knowing that there is probably going to be an adjustment period. As your movement patterns start to change, as different muscles start to turn on, things are going to be acting and behaving differently. And you need to know that going into it.
We can turn the whole world around. I'm in the backseat, really trying to hold it down. And if you up now from the lost and found, and get your hands up high and your shoulders down. I said, we can turn the whole world around. I'm in the backseat, really trying to hold it down. And if you up.
The problem with most barefoot shoes is they just look really goofy. They kind of look like clown shoes. And so I was really, really happy when my friend turned me on to Vivo Barefoot because I think these shoes are actually pretty decent looking. They're not as cool as, you know, like Vans or Nikes or anything, but I will take the function over how they look. But out of all the barefoot shoes, this is definitely the one that I liked the most. I thought it looked the most normal, and it's actually super, super, super comfortable. The video is not sponsored by Vivo Barefoot. I am just a very, very happy customer and I love their shoes. These particular shoes are the Primus Knits, and they are nice leather, and then they have a fabric right here, and it stretches right at the ankles, so it hugs your ankle really well, and I love them. I actually won't ever go back to normal shoes ever again. There might be very special occasions like weddings or something like that where I have to dress up, but other than that, I'm pretty much going to be wearing these or some type of barefoot shoe for the foreseeable future. I don't know if this is true or not, but this is my theory, which is our brain is what sends signals to certain muscles, right? So there's an electrical signal that passes through our brain, through our central nervous system to the muscle, says, hey, it's time to wiggle your right index finger, or it's time to wiggle your big toe. So there is a part of our brain that is connected to making that signal work. If we wear normal shoes for a very long time and we start to lose sensitivity in our feet and those muscles are turning off because they're not working properly, then I believe it's like we're turning off a part of our brain. So something that I notice is when I start to activate those individual muscles and I strengthen those muscles, I do notice that I feel different and I have different thoughts and my brain is working in a different way. So if you think that you've lost sensation to your feet, a good test can be, can you wiggle your big toe without moving any of the other toes? Believe it or not, that's actually pretty hard to do. I don't know if you can see that, but doing just that without moving the other toes is actually pretty hard. Do that test, see if you can connect to one toe and just wiggle it by itself. Because chances are, if you're like me, if you're like most people in the world, you will have a hard time doing that. And to me, that's a signal that something is not working. And this is a way to start restoring, start creating more of that activation, more of that connection so that we can establish a good foundation. Just think about it, we're on our feet all the time. So every time we take a step, there's impact that is being transferred up the kinetic chain, and it always has to start with our feet. So if we can really nail down, if we can really create a good foundation with the muscles in our feet, then we will be much more stable. We'll be able to stand longer, we'll be able to walk further and run faster.
Now from the lost and found, and put your hands up high and your shoulders down and say, about time that I get back. Yo, I'ma get back, we can hold it down. Oh God, I'ma get back.
So I think this might be one of the biggest lifestyle multipliers that you could ever do, because you just get a pair of shoes and then you forget about it. You're just now walking in something that is more optimal, something that is going to reshape your feet to the normal way that it's supposed to be. If you have foot problems, let me know in the comments. Let me know how you feel. Have you tried barefoot shoes? Have you tried zero drop shoes? Have you tried, these flexible minimalist shoes? If you have you noticed any difference?
Yo, I'ma get back, we can hold it
Yeah,
down.
it's Peter. 4th year in the promised land. Watch it, I promise, man. If you ain't looking close, we gon' look like an industry plan. Flex it, I really can't. This is a higher plan. I'm walking with the sun so close, I'm on fire, man. I'm burning up, I'm so OT with a go tee. My fruit to bear is oh so he. I ocho beats.
So what's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is that your shoes really, really matter. And Vivo Barefoot are one of the best companies in the space. They're one of the leading brands, and they're a company that I love. And so if you like this content, health, wellness, biohacking, lifestyle, all that fun stuff, then go check out the next video, the one that I mentioned earlier about Four Sigmatic and the mushroom coffee, and I will see you there.
Rappers look like pollo meat and froyo sweet, so yo soy like so low key. Alright, stop.
That tastes really.
I need to smile, son. It's been a while, son. Go ahead. He picked me up to set apart from all the proud, son. And I was just another kid on the block. I never did a thing to get where I got. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.